Hello everyone, and welcome back to this second feature showcase video. In the next few minutes I'll be describing some more basic elements of the game, as well as more advanced features that you will encounter while playing Underhell. To begin with, we'd like to show you the updated HUD. You can see that the endurance and stamina have changed position and now have an icon. As you can see, the inventory has a very classic yet simple look and use to it. You press the I key by default, which you can rebind if you want, and the inventory opens. From there, you can view all the items you've collected so far in the game. Keep in mind that the game does not pause while you're in the inventory, so be careful while you're rummaging through your stuff. Double-clicking on an object will use it, while right-clicking will open a drop-down menu with the choices Use and Drop. You can also click and drag the items around the inventory to reorganize them as you desire. Once your inventory is full, you can't pick up any new items until you either use or drop something that you already have. Rolling the mouse over an item shows its name and basic description. All the item names and descriptions texts have been localized within the resource files of the game to facilitate translations. Soon after the game is released, the Underhell Language Translation Kit will be released on the forums, which will contain all the language translation files for subtitles, mission objectives and UI names, as well as graphic content such as PDA textures, book pages, textures, or even directional signs that can help guide you in the game. Another new feature in Underhell that you could argue is part of the HUD is the glowing outlines effect. This effect has been designed to help players know which entities they can interact with. The colour of the glow indicates which type of object it is and what its use is. The glow colour will also match the subtitle colour of any person who might have given you an objective. Whenever a character requires interaction in the game, they will also be glowing, indicating to the player that he can press the Use key to talk to them, and either start or finish an ongoing quest.
I heard there's a medical bay on this floor. You could go there and find some painkillers. I'd appreciate it.
Although the other characters do not glow, the player can also talk to them if they're not already in a conversation, to hear more about their personal story, or just for a little line of unique dialogue that they won't repeat again in the game.
I've never had to use a weapon before, but Terrence showed me how it works. I think I could handle myself if it comes to that.
We've designed the glow effect to simply help players know which objects they can interact with in the game, while trying to keep it as unintrusive as possible. No object you have not yet found or seen in the game will start glowing for no good reason. The player must first be around or look at an object for it to start glowing. For those who still find the glowing system too intrusive, we've added an optional setting for the glow that makes it only temporary. This setting makes it so that the glow only reveals itself whenever the display objective key is pressed, and then slowly fades out. This way, hardcore players who don't want a guiding hand won't be seeing the glow by default, but they can press the display objective key to reveal it if they want to. Another object that glows in the game are the checkpoint sheets that are used as saving positions in the game. Once the player has signed it, the game will be saved under a unique saving slot corresponding to that specific checkpoint sheet. Only the sheets in the safe rooms can be signed multiple times. Any other checkpoint in the game can only be signed once. These will also be practical if you want to replay a specific area of the game, since the checkpoints were strategically placed to avoid annoying repetition in case of death, but also placed before important milestones. Part of the items that can glow are security keycards that are sometimes necessary to progress. These keycards very often spawn randomly within a level, forcing players who've already played the game before to still look around the environments to find them. Although random can mean never in the same spot, it can also mean 10 times in the same spot. Random is random. Another item that spawns randomly and is rather important are the PDAs, containing the randomly generated codes for some doors or keypads. These codes are 4 digits, and they will be different for everyone, and can only be obtained by finding these PDAs. There are some other PDAs in the game that don't contain codes, but logs or journals from characters in the game. We are aware that reading logs in games isn't to everyone's liking, so the information contained in these only help to bring additional information. No log reading will be absolutely necessary for the basic understanding of the story. But it can provide the player a neat little background info about certain characters, since some logs in the game were written by the characters that you will meet and fight along. It might be a good idea to get to know them.
My name's Brian. As you might have noticed, I'm new here, just like you. I'm pretty sure you can tell I ain't been here long, because I don't look like a dumb robot.
Some PDAs in the game are also dynamic, based on the previous actions of the player. This is especially true early in the game. The first level of the game can end in multiple ways that will change which area you start the game in. Depending what you did, you will also be reading different logs around the area, describing what just happened through the eyes of the security guards that were observing the scene. Another random aspect of the game are the randomly spawning survivors that populate some areas of the game. Randomly not only means that they spawn in different locations, but it also means that sometimes they won't spawn at all. Once they're met, they're to be escorted by the player back to the nearest safe room, where the survivors will be rescued.
Ah, there we go. Looks like a nice place to wait for the real rescue team. Thanks for bringing me, pal.
Well done, Jake.
Survivors will randomly talk about their story while you escort them, so if you're interested about knowing them, you can keep them around for as long as you want, granted they survive.
This shit has been going to hell for a while. I knew something like this was going to happen. Well, not this. This is beyond my imagination.
That said, the player can drop one of his weapons on the floor near a survivor who will take it to defend himself during the escort.
I know how to handle a weapon. If you think you can trust me with one, I can cover you while you escort us to a safer place.
If the survivor dies or is rescued, he'll drop the weapon, allowing the player to recover it. Speaking of weapons, Underhell has a weapon category system, where the player can only carry one weapon of each category.
You can only carry one weapon of each type on the field. You need to be light on your feet, and carrying an arsenal isn't ideal.
The categories are melee weapons, pistols, submachine guns, shotguns, rifles, and finally large weapons, which cannot be kept by the player. If the player is holding a large weapon and he wants to switch, it will be dropped. Therefore, large weapons can only be used when they're found, and then dropped since they're too heavy to holster. Grenades will also be in the game, but unlike in Half-Life 2, where grenades were an actual weapon, we're currently working on a more practical one key to throw the grenade system. A few of the available weapons in the game can have silencers attached if you're able to find them. Silencers, as you might have guessed, allow you to fire without making too much noise, and therefore taking down enemies quietly. The crossbow, which you can get as a reward for a quest, is also a silent and very deadly weapon. The levels in the game have been designed to allow multiple navigation options, from vents to jumping through windows or just hiding temporarily in a closet. Some areas of the game that are populated with enemies have been granted a sound detection system. If you fire too much in said areas, it's very possible that you'll find yourself surrounded with enemies pretty often. Which is why the use of melee weapons is also a very viable option, since using those don't alert nearby enemies and will therefore allow you to remain undetected more easily. There's multiple melee weapons in the game, which range from small and quick ones to large and slow but powerful ones. Each melee weapon has unique statistics and the stamina costs can vary. If you spend your time using melee weapons and kicks, you'll find your endurance depleting much faster than if you decide to shoot your way through. In both cases, you have to keep an eye out for food and ammunition to be able to continue fighting. Every safe room in the game will be resupplied randomly from time to time, but only once the player has reached a certain point within the main quest, therefore making farming difficult. That said, every safe room will come with a water fountain that allows the player to drink from it to recover endurance. There are also some tools in the game that can help you during your ventures, such as the night vision that allows you to see much better in dark areas, but at the cost of some extra batteries, or the gas mask that allows you to navigate through hazardous areas. Keep in mind, however, that while wearing a gas mask, you obviously can't eat or drink, making it impossible to recover endurance in that situation. Another of the objects that can be very helpful if used wisely are the radios. They do take up an inventory slot, but when they're used, they will start playing music after 5 seconds, attracting all nearby enemies to that position, allowing the player to prepare ambushes, or simply to flank enemies while they're distracted by the radio.
Hey, what kind of a prank is this?
If the enemies reach the radio, they'll destroy it, making it impossible for the player to recover it. But if the player is able to take down all enemies before they reach the radio, he can recover it for later use. A special type of radio can be found later in the game, and is recognised by its distinct colour and look. Whenever these radios are found by enemies, I suggest you take a few steps back and enjoy the fireworks.
You turn the radio off. What the fuck is the matter with you?
We've also been hard at work trying to fix and improve the Source engine in as many aspects as we can, to make it easier for level designers to create experiences that they've had in mind. Dozens of new inputs and outputs have been created for the player, NPCs and trigger entities, allowing for many new uses and possibilities. We will continue to create tutorials detailing said new uses and systems, so make sure to keep an eye on the tutorials section of ModDB. And that about wraps it up, so thanks for watching. I hope you're excited about this as we are, and we can't wait to see what the community will come up with for single player adventures, as well as cooperative or even PvP based levels. Whatever you've got in mind, go nuts! We'll talk about multiplayer more in the near future, so stay tuned for further updates.